Blueprint is one of the most popular CSS frameworks right now, and using it can really speed up the development of a project.
Blueprint is a textbook example of a CSS framework, unlike Sass, which is really more of an extension of a CSS language. To get Blueprint, just head over to blueprintcss.org, and right away you'll notice lots of sites use the Blueprint framework to build their sites. In fact, you can head over to blueprintsites.com and you can actually see a huge gallery of sites that are built with Blueprint. The reason so many sites use Blueprint is because the framework has lots of tried and true stylings that are common to many site layouts. Starting out with a site that has a bunch of pre-written CSS might seem like it's adding a lot of weight to your code, and it might seem like it's a limitation on your creativity, but believe me, starting out with a CSS framework is the way to go. You'll start out way ahead, your code will be more cross-browser friendly, and ultimately you're going to end up writing tons of what Blueprint has to offer already. And no matter how good you are at writing CSS, what you write is probably going to be less efficient than a battle-tested open source framework like Blueprint. So enough of that, let's go ahead and get started. To get Blueprint, you'll want to download the zip file here that's linked on the homepage of blueprintcss.org. And once you've downloaded the file and unzipped it, here is what you'll find inside. There are quite a few files in here that you don't need to really concern yourself with unless you're interested in contributing to the Blueprint project. All you need to do is copy this Blueprint folder into your CSS directory. Once you have the Blueprint folder in place, you'll want to add them to your HTML. So with my very basic HTML document here, I'm going to link in my 3 style sheets. So I'll just skip down here, and I'm going to link in these style sheets, and I have them in my CSS directory. Have to go into the Blueprint folder, and then the first one we're going to link in is screen.css, and that is of typed text CSS, of course. And the media is going to be screen and projection. So we'll just go ahead and copy and paste that because we just need to change which file is being linked in. We'll change that to print, and then we also do need to change the media here to print as well. And finally, we're going to link in one last style sheet, and this is going to be for Internet Explorer. So we'll change this to IE.css, and the media will remain the same. And we also do want to wrap this in IE conditional comments. So we'll go ahead and put those in. So if this is less than IE 8, then we'll include this style sheet. And this is pretty standard stuff. The only thing to watch out for here is, of course, the Internet Explorer conditionals. Make sure to wrap the IE.css include in these Internet Explorer conditional comment tags so that it only affects Internet Explorer versions that are less than 8. Now, at this point, we could just start using Blueprint and blindly start using some of the classes that it offers, but it would be a much better idea to explore the CSS files we're including so that we can gain an understanding of what's actually going on. That way, when we include our own styling, we'll know how to properly interact with what's already there. Again, there are 3 CSS files here. Print.css provides some basic styling for printing, and IE.css corrects for some bugs in the Internet Explorer rendering engine, but we're not going to worry about those. The only file we're going to concern ourselves with is screen.css. The first chunk here is the reset. Like most good CSS frameworks, Blueprint includes reset code that removes padding, margin, borders, and other styling that's added by the browser by default. This essentially levels the playing field so that you can create more consistent layouts across many browsers. The next section is typography. Again, typographic styling is included in many CSS frameworks, and Blueprint is no different. After the reset, the typography section rebuilds all of the text styling for everything from headlines and paragraphs to tables and lists. Towards the bottom of this section, there's also several styles that we can add to our text to give it some flair and variety. For example, we have this highlight class, which will put a yellow background on a block of text, making it look like it's been highlighted with a yellow marker. The next section styles forms, which includes labels, inputs, and more. This is basically the same as the typography section in that it rebuilds these styles. And then finally, we come to the bulk of the framework, which is the grid system. For most CSS frameworks, the grid system is going to be the largest component, and Blueprint is no different. In fact, the major benefit of using most CSS frameworks is that they include a robust grid system with all the pre-calculated cross-browser multi-column math. Building this yourself wouldn't be impossible, but it would be pretty challenging, and oftentimes there's no real need to reinvent all of this code if it's already done for you. Now, don't let the size of this grid system intimidate you. Once you learn how to use a few of these classes, the rest will become more obvious. Blueprint uses a fixed width layout that's 950 pixels wide, which allows for 24 columns that are 30 pixels wide with a 10 pixel gutter. It turns out that this is a pretty good level of granularity that allows for a huge variety of designs. Each one of these span classes that you see here allows you to create a column of a particular width. For example, we could create a main content area and a right sidebar together using the span 18 class followed by the span 6 class to give us a total of 24. Each one of these span classes is floated to the left with a right margin of 10. So they'll appear side by side, and they'll also have some margin between them.
So far, we've included Blueprint into our HTML, and we've learned about some of the built-in classes. In the next video, we'll learn how to use the Blueprint grid system.